But this is a Patek Philippe World Time Cloisonné enamel. They made 3 versions of that, but initially they made 2. One for North America with this gold configuration and one in white gold for Asia. What you have here is a Cloisonné enamel depiction of the world map. And that's really cool because it's using a system created by a guy named Wei Koh, who created a system for you to be able to read all 24 of the world's time zones in one shot. So what you have essentially is local time displayed by these tiny hands. And this is actually a really good example of a watch being an emotional device because the hands are so tiny that it's basically impossible to read. I know because I have this and I struggle continuously to actually read the time, but it's cool, right? The other thing you have around is also a ring with 24 hours on it, and around that are cities that correspond to the time that's being displayed. That's also pretty much useless as well because it doesn't compensate for daylight savings time. So it's almost, and it's slightly inaccurate, but by virtue of that, it's also one of the most charming watches available and in Christendom, right?
I will actually add there that these watches become more charming with time as the cities and their GMT offsets actually obsolesce. So as Wei mentioned, Wei Koh developed the original World Time radial display system, and he lived practically forever. He lived into his 90s, and he saw many of the cities and many of the time zones displayed on his own older watches lapse. You see names like Formosa, places that we would never
I've been to Formosa. It's fantastic. The women are stunning. So what's amazing about this watch is also, think about the era in which these became popularized. So you're talking about also the onset of jet travel, right? And for the first time, people are able to kind of reach cities around the world with some relative ease. You start to have a social calendar that follows the whole world, skiing in Stad, summer in Capri, all that kind of thing as well. And if you were a guy that had a watch like this and you had it on your wrist, and I think Agnelli had one of these, you were just the ultimate baller. I mean, it was just so cool. You were clearly a guy who was an icon of the jet set age, correct?
That's a fact. And in another sense, the fact that it is so difficult to read these watches kind of plays on the whole notion of why we buy them, because they are gorgeous, they are exquisite, they are rare. So what time is it? I have no idea. It's a good time.
If you want to check the time, you've got this, right? And everyone's got one of these. This is my dog, but on top of that is the time. And that will give you something far more accurate than that, but this will give you no emotion or probably frustrate and irritate you as it does me. But that will give you a lifetime of emotional enjoyment.
Yeah, fun times, exactly. Not a specific time.
So we're going to go from there to talking about tourbillons. So tourbillon, as you guys know, probably was patented in 1801 by Abraham Louis Breguet. It was a device to compensate for errors on the escapement and on the balance and on the hairspring when watches were in the vertical position. What are they doing in a wristwatch? Because a wristwatch is very rarely in a vertical position. It's, you know, let's face it, it's because they're cool looking. I mean, look at that. It's amazing looking, you know? It's funny because François-Paul Journe, who made this watch, is very fond of saying, putting a tourbillon on a wristwatch is like breaking your leg before running a race. He said, but of course he has to put a caveat in there that benefits him, which is to say, however, to have a remontoir, which is a self-arming system for constant force, as he has in his watch, that's like having a really marvelous cast on your leg, right? So tell us a little bit about that watch and how it charms you.
Well, this is a fantastic watch on 2 levels. First, because it is not easy to make a movement entirely in 18-karat rose gold. This is not something that existed in traditional horology. The ability to build a movement out of solid gold is an artifact of the modern era. And again, it's there because it's luxurious, it's beautiful, it's warm. Now the dial itself has a wonderful imprint known as the Regency imprint. The great thing about that being, once again, it is fatuous, but because it's fatuous, it is fabulous. A beautiful surround for the pièce de résistance.
That's good.
And then the tourbillon. Yes. Again, what purpose does it serve? Well, if it's a pocket watch in your pocket in one orientation with respect to gravity, helps to even out the effects of gravity on timing. But when it's moving in every which way, the effect is less pronounced, which is why modern evolutions of the tourbillon, such as this canted double tourbillon, it actually has 2 tourbillons, one moving in a 4-minute circuit, one moving in a 60-second circuit by Greubel Forsey, reclaims some of the original chronometric purpose of the tourbillon.
Reapplied for the wristwatch. But then if you look at it, because you've got essentially these 2 axes around which the balance wheel is being driven, it starts to become less of a chronometric device and more sort of a mobile sculpture, you know? And I think that that's the charm of it as well. I mean, none of these watches have lost the essence of watchmaking in that they are ultimately there to tell time accurately. But they have sublimated that and sort of brought it to another level by bringing emotion into the game, and I think that making that the primary sort of attraction.
I would agree with that, because it's often important to be the best of the old style. For instance, why do we revere Secretariat? Because Secretariat was the highest level of breeding, excellence, and achievement in an old and romantic form of sport. Secretariat was the ultimate racehorse, slower than any car, but fantastic as the ultimate example of that type. This achieves that. Greubel Forsey Tourbillon watches have won timing competitions against mechanical competition.
Exactly.
So we have something that is both.
I think they won the second concourse, right?
That is
the
a
first
fact.
one was won by Jaeger with the Master, which I know is one of your favorite watches, which beat the gyro.
Which beat their own gyro.
And then I think what I also liked also, because at some point all the guys at Greubel were being like, hey, listen, you guys claim to make the world's most accurate watch. You've done all this sort of achievement related to multiple axes for wristwatch tourbillons. When are you going to prove it to us? And so they did. They went to the Concours International de la Chronométrie and they won with one of their watches, and we have to sort of say chapeau to them. You know, but along what Tim was saying, look, what enchants us today are things that are anachronistic in a time in which we have the ever-expanding deification of electronics. The things that are anachronistic sometimes are the most charming. Think about sailboats, think about vintage cars. Like a 250 GTO today, honestly, if you got into a Volkswagen GTI, you sure could smoke it, right? But it's just so beautiful and it's so cool and it's so timeless. Sailboats as well, you could probably get in a plastic tub with an outboard motor and beat the world's most expensive sailboat. But in the end, it's not about that. Which one would you rather be in? And what kind of watch would you rather wear? Would you rather wear an iWatch, is that what the Apple Watch is called, an Apple Watch, which is the biggest piece of shit in the world, or would you rather wear that?